Howdy, y'all. So this week I've asked you to write an intellectual autobiography, and many of you have quite understandably asked, what is that? So that's what this video is trying to tell you. What is an intellectual autobiography? Well, an intellectual autobiography is a short, informal, introspective, and very useful part of the process of writing a capstone thesis. When I say short, I mean short. 2 pages to 4 pages. And by pages, I always mean double space, so about 250 words per page. So you're talking about between 500 and 1,000 words, right? So short. Shouldn't take you more than 1 to 2 hours to write, not counting the time that you spend thinking about it. But the actual writing time, probably 1 to 2 hours of actual writing time. Informal. So informal, think more like journal style writing, right? So pretty laid back. No one is going to read this except for you and me. So you can keep it informal. I tend to proofread, grammar check everything. That's just me. But it's nevertheless it's an informal style of writing. You don't need any resources other than what's in your head, right? So it's just an informal sort of journal style writing that doesn't require any outside resources. Introspective. So the point of the intellectual autobiography, we had this saying when I was back in doctoral studies, that research is me search. So meaning that, there's some reason that you're interested in the topic that you chose for your capstone thesis, maybe something that happened to you, some experience that you've had or something like that. So the intellectual autobiography is where you sort of think back through your life and your experiences and think, all right, what is it about me that makes me super interested in this topic, right? What is it about this topic or question that drives me? And then you try to put it down into words. Now, I say useful because useful in a lot of different ways. Useful because it's really the first attempt that you have, your first attempt to try and take this idea or question that drives you for your capstone thesis. It's your first attempt to try and put it into words. And as you revise that and get better at that, then that will eventually probably become the first paragraph of your capstone thesis proposal, and in turn the first paragraph of your capstone thesis. Second paragraph of both of those things, your thesis proposal and your actual capstone thesis, is going to be on why you're passionate about this topic. So this is the first attempt to try and put those things into words, and it's going to be useful because it's going to become those first 2 paragraphs, which are key paragraphs in any thesis that anybody would write. Lastly, I say it's part of a process, right? So in this case, the process is actually more important than the product, right? So the process is more important than the product in this case, right? So the intellectual autobiography, the product, doesn't really matter so much as the actual exercise of going through and thinking about these things, right? As I said before, no one's going to read this except for me and you. There's no real, right? So it's more about the exercise, the process involved in getting this down on paper. So that's basically it. Intellectual autobiography. Think those things, right? Short, 2 to 4 pages, 1 to 2 hours of actual writing time, and revising, those sort of things. But I wouldn't revise too much because it's informal, right? It's a journal style writing, very introspective, where you're thinking about your past experiences and what is it about this topic or question that connects in some way with some experiences that you've had, right? Why are you interested in this topic? And again, just kind of, we may have talked about that in our individual meetings, but it's a part of the process where you're getting this down onto paper, and which will become especially useful when you get to the capstone thesis proposal and eventually, of course, the capstone thesis or capstone project itself. So that's it. That's everything you need to know, I think, about the intellectual autobiography. And if you have any questions, let me know. Peace out.